ladies and gentlemen. Gerry Boyle is my name. I'm the chairman of AgriSearch, and it's my great privilege to, first of all, welcome all of you. And from the attendance here today, it's evident that this conference clearly has attracted a lot of interest, and it's fantastic to see such a large turnout. We want to thank, of course, our sponsors for today, who are Dale Farm, Lakeland, Arrivo, and Leprino, and they have been very generous in their sponsorship of this conference. For those of you maybe that are not too familiar with AgriSearch, it's just to say that it's a charity. It's funded primarily by the farmers among the audience this morning through levies on milk, beef and lamb. And our role primarily is to advocate for research and innovation that's of relevance, a key word to Northern Ireland farmers. And we're unashamedly production focused. Obviously, there are a whole lot of issues that affect the sector, not least the environmental challenges that you're all too familiar with. But that doesn't preclude the importance of a production focus on the research and innovation agenda. And that's what we're about. Because as a New Zealand friend of mine used to say, time and time again, we've got to focus on generating profit from productivity. And productivity and the enhancement of productivity is not just of concern to the individual dairy farmer, but it's also of concern to society as a whole. And that's our role. We have a very limited research budget, so we have a responsibility to the levy payers to ensure that that money is spent wisely. So our active research and innovation program is manifest through trialling research and innovations on farms to make sure that the research is of practical benefit and to identify any obstacles to the optimal exploitation of that research. And of course, we do that through our beacon farms, and you will be familiar, for example, with our involvement in the recently established Carbon Network project, which is going to be of significance and importance to Northern Ireland dairy farmers and indeed to all farmers. So we've undertaken a lot of active research in conjunction with many partners, and some of the highlighted projects are on the screen there, and further details are available on our website. We've also produced recently a 5-year strategy, and there's a copy or a statement of strategy. There's a copy on your table, and we'd be interested in any feedback you have on that strategy. Now, the origins of today's conference and the focus today on high output, high input dairy farming system goes back to our inaugural Research and Innovation Needs Conference a couple of years ago. And while we have supported research that's of relevance to all dairy farming systems, we are conscious, and were conscious from that day and from the response by many of you who are here today, that we should recognize the diversity of dairy farming systems. And that's today's conference then, with its focus on high output, high input systems, is a direct response to that concern that was raised subsequent to the conference. So there are a diversity of systems right across the world, even in New Zealand, that I've visited on many occasions. There is diversity there as well. And what's most important about any system, and my advisory colleagues in Teagasc used to remind me of this continuously, is the most important requirement for every farmer is to have a system. And once you've identified the system that's suitable to your conditions and indeed to your inclination and to your interest, then the challenge is to ensure that you operate that system in the most efficient manner that's possible and glean from that system the optimal profits for your farm. And that's a reflection of the reality that people will engage in different systems, and irrespective of the system, the bottom line, the impact on productivity in the first instance and then on profit is what's crucial. So today's event is an attempt to respond to the needs of high output, as I say, high input farmers. We thought that a conference like today would be a good initial step towards discussing some of the key issues to successfully operating a high output, high input system, and to identify the research and innovation requirements that that system demands. And of course, we want to hear from farmers, because the relevance of AgriSearch as an organization funded by levy payers is that we implement and we advocate on behalf of farmers. We've actually just launched a major farmer survey, and we're keen to get your views on the research and innovation needs that you have. And QR code will link you to the survey. It's included on the tables in front of you, and we would really welcome your active participation in that survey, because we will then articulate those needs in terms of the research partners in Northern Ireland, and indeed in the work that we can do in trialling that research and innovation on our actual farm situation. And later this afternoon, you'll have an opportunity to review the research and innovation needs for your system. The results of the survey that I've mentioned and today's discussion will be used in our biannual Research and Innovation Needs Conference, which will be held later this year, and in the development of our needs analysis paper, which we will be presenting to government, academia, and industry, reflecting the concerns, needs, and aspirations of dairy farmers. While today's event, of course, will focus on the technical aspects of high input dairy systems, such as genomics, animal health, and nutrition, we do, of course, recognize that we live in a world where there are constant challenges. We're expecting DAERA to launch a nutrients action program consultation in the next few weeks. It is likely to propose limits on phosphorus surpluses per hectare for all farms, which could have a particular impact and substantial impact possibly on high input dairy farms. The current impasse on planning permission due to ammonia legislation is also, of course, as you all know, having a big impact on the development of the dairying on our farms. As further details emerge, AgriSearch will consider how we can adapt to help farmers and industry to meet these challenges. And there are potential solutions being developed, such as slurry separation and export. And all of these potential solutions require a substantial contribution from research and innovation partners. And we in AgriSearch see it as our responsibility to ensure that that research is informed by the practical needs of dairy farmers. Of course, irrespective of the system that a farm operates, the good news is that efficient farmers will always, and that's coming through from all of the work that's been done, always be in a better position, both from an economic and sustainability standpoint. The link between, and there's a very clear link has been established between productivity and sustainability. And that's one of the linkages that AgriSearch will continue to point out to policymakers. So finally, I want to wish everyone a productive day and to repeat, a day like today is only going to be successful through, obviously, the contribution of the excellent speakers that have agreed to participate in today's events, but also, and most importantly, through your active involvement. And again, I remind you about the use of Slido, but we will also encourage you to contribute from the floor through questions and comments during the panel discussion sessions. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and have a good day. Thank you.